The thrust of what you're saying is that China's near-term economic outlook is being supported by the government, but medium-term prospects look very uncertain. Talk to us about the main risks facing China.
Well, China's growth continues, and what's important is that it be not at the fastest rate, but at the fastest sustainable rate. So it's important that China deal with its vulnerabilities in order to keep growth going. We've focused during these discussions in the recent days on the growing corporate debt. Corporate debt is now about 1.5 times GDP, which is high for a country in China's income level, and the composition of that debt is largely state-owned enterprises that have more debt relative to GDP than their contribution to the economy. So we're concerned that with the present rapidly rising credit in the economy, that too much may go to companies that really won't have a basis for repayment, and that a debt problem that presently we think is manageable could become unmanageable.
Right, so are the authorities, Mr. Lipton, dealing with this? When will we see progress in trying to rein in this credit growth?
The first step, which I think they've taken, is recognition of the problem. There were statements made by an authoritative source in government recognizing the problem, saying that they really need to deal with zombie enterprises. I think that the problem is not just about companies that need to be shut down, but also about companies that need to be downsized or right-sized. They've developed a program for closing companies in the steel and coal sectors, which are sectors where they know that there's too much capacity. We want to see them go ahead with those plans and then broaden their effort to address the restructuring needs across that part of the corporate sector where profitability in the future just isn't going to be what it was in the past.
Talk to me about the currency. Is it broadly in line with fundamentals?
Yeah, we think that the currency is broadly in line with fundamentals. That was our view a year ago, and frankly, the currency hasn't moved in effective terms, meaning against the basket of currencies that reflects China's trading partners. It hasn't moved much over the past year. Now, it moves against the dollar or against another currency as cross-currency rates move in global markets. But we think that it's been stable now in an effective sense for a while. And for us, what's more important looking forward is that they introduce more and more flexibility into the management of the exchange rate so that market forces can guide the currency in the future. As fundamentals change, the currency can be guided by the market to levels that are consistent with the fundamentals.
David Lipton, how concerned are you about Brexit, and how much on an impact can it have on the world economy and on China?
Brexit's, the vote about the question of Brexit has already introduced some uncertainty. Of course, we don't know what the British people will decide on June the 23rd, but if they were to choose Brexit, we think that there would follow a period of uncertainty because of the need to determine what kinds of trade and other economic relations the UK would have with Europe. The impact would probably be the economic impact would be most important for the UK and secondly for the EU, but there would likely be some reverberations more broadly. These are economic issues. The British people will decide on a broader range of considerations than economic issues, but looking at it from an economic standpoint, we think that there could be some significant effects, first in Britain, second in the EU itself, and then with diminished size more broadly in the global economy.
In the global economy, would it actually have the possibility of some kind of snowballing effect that would lead to a recession or practically no growth?
I don't think that the impacts would be that significant further afield from the UK and Europe. I think, of course, the global economy is recovering, but recovering in a way that is too weak and too fragile. So it's never good to add another straw that might break a camel's back. But right now, our view is that the global recovery will continue, Brexit or no Brexit. Of course, every effort should be made to strengthen the global recovery. That's going to be the key topic of discussion when G20 finance ministers meet in China in July.